Hello everyone, today I'm going to be going over the track Save Me that I put out with the singer Eroze. It is our second house track together, and let's get right into it. Okay, the first thing I want to go over is how we came up with the lyrics for the track. Typically working with her, usually in person, and we'll start with showing off some demos, like songs that have 2 drops typically, and she'll pick a vibe from there, and we'll go with the chords and just loop them with the metronome, and that might sound like this. So this is what she came up with here.
If you believed in me, would you tell me when I keep falling?
The atmospheres in the track tuck under her already, and then that comes up with the other verse elements I have, so which is the verse bass here. Which I've used in about most of my songs. And then this percussion loop I made in a song that I never released, but I used it a few times. Super simple. And then there's another clap on top of there, along with some tremolos, then a fire crackle for ambience, and then another synth delay that I rendered out. Then I have some build-up atmospheres, transition elements here. Got this one. Sweep, transition, filtered the low end on that. Impact, and that leads to my drop chords, which are right here. Okay, for the drop, it was inspired by this track by Linux and Its Areas, their track Late Nights, which has a fake out in the drop, so that sounds like this. Late nights, I've been waking up alone in the late night. So there should have been a kick right there. And that's what inspired this track, at least for the drop. So I tried that with a fake out here of the vocal chop. So not her singing. And then we get this. And that's where the drop comes in after a little kick fill. And then the drop is super simple. I think the main element that takes up most of the space is the lead and the bass. And I'll go over that right here. The lead is one sound on top here, this one. And then this one on the bottom. And they have an automation for like a comb filter, so it adds a really nice texture at the end. Like a ring comb filter, really nice. Does that again here, which goes into the delays. I have a delay here, quarter note, half note, and then short reverb, distortion, OTT on a low mix, some compression, not that much, a bit of EQ for like the mid, which is here. Just a bit of mud in the 200 hertz. I didn't want to like cut it fully, but just a bit of EQ to bring it down. And then that's another EQ, just a little bit more, some OTT, saturation with the Blood Overdrive, really nice plugin. More compression, and then a bit of EQ, not really doing much. Okay, for the bass, I have a few layers, starting with mid bass 1, which is this one. And then I have this one here, kind of a saw wave, and then of course the sub bass with some harmonics, as you can see. And then with the side chain, we get this. And speaking of the sidechain, I am using kilohertz compactor at 10 milliseconds of attack, which is look ahead, as it says below. A bit of hold, some release, and then you can see it's taking out most of it. And that's the cleanest sidechain that you can get. And then I have this like bass stab. The other synth I have in the drop is this chord stack here. Okay, here are the drop drums. I wanted a punchy and clicky transient for most of them, and I do clip them, which I'll show you, but here they are. Starting with the kick. A very typical PGX kick, small top kick, shaker loop, another kind of shaker loop, and then this hat here, and then a rim shot, which is turned down a lot, clap here, which is super wide and it's a bit shifted. Okay, the last part I have is this tonal layer here. And then I have the tremolo from the Buildup. And these are all getting sidechained. And then there's the transition I put in quite a few tracks. And then there's also like this water texture that I added. Okay, the last thing I wanted to go over were the vocal processing. And this is my third track I've mixed with her, but the second one to come out. So I've kind of gotten a rhythm of what I want to look for. Typically, I will comp the best takes, and she does like 4 to 5 takes per verse, and then we'll do some harmonies on like 3 or 4 of those. And typically I like to cut the S's and only have one. So like you can see there was an S there, it's in blue, and then I cut it out, and this is the main take on top, which you can see has a few different cuts from different tracks. This one's green, this one's a bit purple, so it's a different track. And then there's a lot of trims and such. I will also like move the notes a little bit. Like if it's starting, like let's say this note was off like that, I'll move it in here. And maybe because it's filtered, these are the doubles, it doesn't really matter as long as the note starts at the same time as the main. And then for tuning, I typically go in and pitch correct in new tone here, and that might look like just cutting up a little bit, and if she's off like slightly, I'll come in and drag her down like so. Took me about half an hour to do all these takes. She wasn't off that much, just a few times. And then there's a bit of auto-tune on each track itself, and it doesn't have much latency. It's like 1 millisecond if you see in the top left. because it's on classic mode. And then yeah, short retune speed, and that's kind of it. Pretty simple. And then for the main vocal, the main part I wanted to go for was not super wide, but like a very strong center, and then have the harmonies and doubles take up like the sides. So here is the main without any effects on it.
Can we take a minute to slow it down?
And it does have the auto-tune and pitch correction, of course, like it's not the raw take, but that is the unprocessed take. So starting, I have a bit of EQ for some of the low end, and there's a bit of some harsh frequencies with the S-ing.
Can we take a minute?
And then a bit of compression.
Can we take a minute to slow it down?
Along with some de-essing from MB here with this band, and then this band is for when she goes in the higher registry. Kind of tame that 2 to 4K, and then another de-esser, just a little bit, along with this compression here from Xvox, some saturation with the Air plugin parameter, and then a 2-second reverb and eighth note delay on some ducking and some tape saturation. So doing a lot of work already.
Can we take a minute to slow it down?
And there's a bit of like noise under it, under the processing, but it's not that noticeable. Then we have going into a harmony engine.
Can we take a minute to slow it down?
With some OTT at a low mix, and then some EQing on that, and then slap delay, and then a delay send for these automations here. And for the doubles, it's the same processing idea, except a bit more filtered. So we get this, like a lot more filtering. So that was the main, and then the doubles here are 300 hertz. So all together with everything, we get this.
If you believed in me, would you tell me when I keep falling?
Alright, that was my Say Me production breakdown. My next track with her is dropping in July as of the recording of this video. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.